It finally happened. It finally happened. We got the news that we have been waiting for months at this point. Months. I'm not going to do an intro or anything because this is like a breaking news kind of episode. It's going to be very quick. But what's going on, Devils fans? As always, it's your host, your best friend, your confidant, your number one source, Neil Villapiano. Welcome to a breaking news edition of the Devil's State of Mind podcast right here on the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as SportsWire Radio, the best place to get everything you need to know about your recently extended long-term Luke Hughes New Jersey Devils. And as always, Devils fans, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check this episode out and everything. Really do appreciate it. And yes, literally about I would say, what was it? About a half hour ago, we got the news that we have been waiting for. As per Elliot Friedman, Luke Hughes and the New Jersey Devils have closed in on a 7-year, $7.9 million extension AAV. So he's making $9 million per year over the next 7 years, which comes out to $63 million total. So yes, we've finally gotten over the goal line. Tom Fitzgerald, Pat Brisson, and Luke Hughes finally hashed out the details and got it done. And we knew for the longest time that both sides wanted a long-term extension done, and they got to that point. It sounded like even as early as yesterday that again, all we were getting told was while there was a long-term deal and that was the plan, the reality is that it was the money that was the issue. And my guess is that the Devils wanted to sign Luke between 7.5 to maybe 8 million, and Luke and his team wanted 9. And eventually Tom Fitzgerald, I guess, folded and decided to hand over the $9 million. And yes, we have finally gotten here as Luke Hughes has signed his new contract and he will be here for the next 7 years. And that is absolutely awesome. So we have both Jack and Luke locked up for the next 5 seasons, including this year together. And it is absolutely awesome. I am so relieved more than anything else. I am just so relieved that this finally got done. Let's take a look at some other details here from this deal. As again, the Devils also put out this release just a few moments ago. They said the Devils announced that the team has agreed to terms with restricted free agent defenseman Luke Hughes on a 7-year contract worth $63 million, $9 million AAV, and it was announced by Tom Fitzgerald, and he will be with the team at practice tomorrow. The Devils have a day off today here on Wednesday, October 1st. And I think it's awesome that also with about 8 days or so away from the first game, from the first regular season game, it's just such a relief to finally get this done. I would expect to see Luke Hughes play in one of these final 2 preseason games, whether on Thursday against the Rangers or on Saturday afternoon against the Flyers, just to kind of get him going. Maybe they'll play him in both just to kind of get his feet wet and get him rolling here. But nonetheless, it is absolutely awesome that we finally were able to get it done. Hughes just completed his second full year with the Devils, 6'2", 200-pound defenseman. He had 44 points last year, 7 goals, 37 assists, playing in 71 of the 82 games in the 24-25 campaign. And also his 44 points, 37 assists, and 16 power play points led all Devils blue liners last season. He also ranked second most average time on ice, just over 21 minutes behind Brett Pesce. So now we move into the next phase, right? So now the question becomes, what's the next thing? Because now you're going to ask yourself, well, Neil, the Devils had just over $6 million in cap space prior to this deal happening. So now that this is done, what's going to happen? Well, probably by the time this episode comes out, maybe the Devils will have done a couple of things, maybe some moves. Again, I think very likely Jonathan Kovacevic is going to get put on long-term IR. There's some other moves that I think the Devils can certainly make. But nonetheless, I think that there is a path where they are going to be able, they have to legally get to being basically having enough money to make sure that this contract uh, is legit on the cap overall going into the season. So that's kind of another thing that's the next step that needs to be cleared out. But let's take a look in a little bit more detail as to what this contract looks like. And it comes from courtesy of our friends over at Puckpedia, who already have the new contract on their website. So again, the cap hit is $9 million for 7 years, and he will be an unrestricted free agent when he turns 28 years of age. That's how old I am. 28 years of age in 2032 here. So again, as you look, get rid of this stupid ad. Again, 9 million cap hit as it just continues to be. Now, what's interesting is that for the first 5 seasons, there is no clauses, but in the last two, there is a modified no trade clause. So I'm not really sure if that's going to play a factor, but that's something that we're not going to think about too much going at this point. But base salary for the first 2 years is 8 million. His AAV again 9 million. Again, the cap hit will be 9 million, and he has a $1 million signing bonus in both this year and next year. And that is essentially what is going on. The Devils have the right to buy him out in any of the 7 years that they have, and then year 6 and 7, it is a 10-team no trade clause. So those are the details of this contract. So shout out to Puckpedia for getting that breakdown very, very quickly. And that is just absolutely phenomenal. Now, again, we will see what other moves the Devils make prior to this contract, obviously being set in stone. Even though the Devils did announce it, they still have to make some moves in order to free up cap space to make this work. It'll be very interesting over the next couple of days what the Devils do decide to do to make it work. I do remember, though, when Tom Fitzgerald spoke to the media after the second day of training camp, he said that they have, already a plan. So clearly, this is something that they've been preparing for, and now it's a matter of executing that plan. What that plan is, we will find out in the near future. But nonetheless, guys, we finally gotten here. It's finally over. This saga is finally over. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Luke Hughes has signed a long term with the New Jersey Devils on a 7-year contract worth $9 million AAV. And on that note, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this emergency podcast episode, a very important one of the Devil State of Mind podcast. As always, thank you guys for checking out the episodes. Do appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and tell all your friends to do the same here on YouTube as we get closer and closer to 200 subscribers. Also, make sure to follow the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, all that fun stuff. Make sure you guys go check it out over there. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on either one. Helps grow the podcast even more. We had one of our best months in the month of September. So let's try to make it even better here in the month of October as we're now finally on the verge of getting ready for this regular season. A little over a week away from the Devils' first game of the regular season against the Carolina Hurricanes. Still have two preseason games to go. And if you want a little bit more detail on that, go check out the episode that I posted back on Monday of this week so you can check it out. And also follow the podcast over on our social medias, Devil State of Mind on Instagram and Facebook, Devil State over on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok, Neil.Villapiano, and also on BlueSky as well, Neil Villapiano. But again, thank you all so very much for checking out this very quick Luke Hughes signed edition of the Devil State of Mind podcast. And we will see you in the next episode, everyone. Continue to be the awesome people that you are. And as I always say at the end of every episode, you got to put those horns up, baby, especially for Luke Hughes. Let's go, Luke Hughes, and let's go, Devils.